Hello, welcome back to Story Time. Have you ever had some problems deciding what kind of book you're looking for? Sometimes when you're in the library or you're in the bookstore, you have all kinds of choices. And so maybe one time you'd like to read some mysteries. And mysteries generally come in some series, so that once you start to read them, the first one or two might be kind of challenging as far as words and characters, that kind of thing. But the more you read in that series, the easier the book becomes because you're familiar with the vocabulary, you're familiar with the characters, and what changes is the action or the plot and where the stories take place. So today I'm going to read a little bit from one of the series that we have at the bookstore. We have a couple of those, and they're called the Chet Gecko Mysteries. And this one happens to be the Hamster of the Baskervilles, and this is an older mystery series, and it's written by Bruce Hale. And it says, When Science Fair Geeks Go Bad. And he writes at the beginning of each one of these, kind of a little section that talks about himself and what he does. A private message from the private eye. Science. Ben Franklin couldn't juice it up. Madame Curie couldn't cure it. So let's tell the truth. Science is a snooze. In fact, the only science I like is the sweet science of detection. Detection is my business, but you probably guessed that if you know I'm Chet Gecko, the best lizard detective at Emerson Hicky Elementary. Unfortunately, my school doesn't give classes in private eyeing, but it does have science 5 days a week. Yuck! What I know about science, you could just about fit into the Grand Canyon and still have enough room left over for the entire population of China, a medium-sized brontosaurus, and a tuba. Despite his best efforts, here's all I've learned from Mr. Ratnose's class. Some people can tell what time it is by looking at the sun, but I've never been able to make out the numbers. Rain is saved up in cloud banks, and germs come from Germany, while viruses come from Ireland. But all my fourth grade education couldn't prepare me for one case that started with science and headed off into the supernatural. Normally, I don't believe in that stuff. My idea of voodoo is Mom's mosquito swirl ice cream sundaes. But when you're face to face with something from a late night movie and you can't change the channel, you've got to ask yourself the important question. If it doesn't act super and it doesn't look natural, why do they call it supernatural? And the first chapter is a heck of a wreck. Some Mondays drag in like a wet dog, dripping puddles of gloom and trailing a funky stink. Actually, at my school, most Mondays are like that. But this Monday opened with a bang, like a fat frog fired from a circus cannon. And like that frog, it turned into an ugly mess quicker than you can say, ribbit, ribbit, splat. No clue tipped me off as I trotted through the gates of Emerson Hicky Elementary mere minutes before the morning bell. One more tardy slip, and I'd win a one-way trip to detention with the beast of room 3. Not my idea of a dream vacation. I dodged and darted down the halls past other stragglers, trying to beat the clock. A sleepy second grader wandered into my path. Dazed as a meerkat on a merry-go-round, she stumbled along toward her classroom. Zayump! I planted my hands on her shoulders and vaulted over the little shrew, easy as slurping a gypsy moth milkshake. My feet pounded onward. Rounding the last corner, I was running full tilt, only seconds to go. Old Man Ratnose's classroom loomed ahead. I bounced off the bright orange door and skidded for my seat just as the bell went ring. And I would have made it too if not for Biddy Chew, the gopher. Whump! Like a crazy cue ball, I hit her at top speed, ricocheted into Waldo the fur ball, and sprawled across Shirley Chameleon's desk. Private eye in the corner pocket. Shirley blinked down at me with one eye while the other scanned the room. Chameleons, what you gonna do? I saluted her. Hey, Green Eyes, I said suavely. Did you get the answer to that second homework problem? Shirley snorted and tossed her head. What's up, Buttercup? I said. You've gone all yellow around the edges. And she had. One thing about chameleons, there's never a dull-colored moment. Use your private eye, wise guy, she said. Since when would Shirley skip a chance to flirt like the cootie machine she was? Something was rotten in this state of rat nose. I raised my head and checked out my fourth grade classroom. My jaw dropped. I didn't pick it up. Mr. Ratnose's room was a mess. No, more than a mess, it was the Cadillac of crudiness, the Titanic of trash, the Grand Canyon of chaos. If that mess were a monument, it'd be the Statue of Liberty. Desk leg tumbled around the room like blocks in a cranky preschooler's playpen. Half-eaten papers covered the floor. Deep gashes raked the walls. A handful of seeds was scattered by the door. The seeds of destruction, maybe? Most of my classmates stood gaping, saucer-eyed in amazement. Biddy Chew tearfully fingered a wad of shredded paper. Somebody's been munching on my math quiz. Waldo the furball ran a finger along his toppled chair. Somebody's been slobbering on my seat. I noticed a jagged cut on the wall had mutilated my latest masterpiece, a safety poster. Somebody'd been slashing up my artwork, and I guessed it wasn't Goldilocks. What twisted hoodlum was responsible? Mr. Ratnose stood knee-deep in the mess. His eyes were round as donuts with a dollop of bitter chocolate in the middle. He sputtered like a deranged sprinkler head. Finally, he choked out, "Who is responsible for this?" Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. "Who wrecked my classroom?" he asked. Bo Newt nudged me. "Whoever it was, he had monster feet," he whispered. "I'd hate to have to shop for his tennies." I looked at the muddy footprints. Bo was right. Whoever had made those tracks would wear shoes big enough for the football team to float downstream in. "Who spoke?" said Mr. Ratnose. "Chet Gecko? Do you know something?" "With you as a teacher?" ran through my mind. But for once I passed up an easy joke. "No, Mr. Ratnose." I tried to rise up on my elbows and tumbled off the desk. Retrieving my hat and my body from the floor, I got to my feet. Mr. Ratnose's whiskers quivered like an overstrung banjo. He paced up the aisle to me, wringing his paws. "You're some kind of detective," he muttered. "Can't you find out who did this?" I tilted my hat back and gazed up at him. "I'm some kind of detective, all right, the kind that likes to get paid. If I track down this goon, what's in it for me? Can I get out of doing my science project?" "No," said Mr. Ratnose. "Can I get free lunches for a month?" "Not likely," said Mr. Ratnose. How about 2 get out of detention free cards and a box of jelly donuts?" "Done," I said. "Mr. Ratnose, I'm your gecko." And the next chapter is called Intestines and Questions. So that might be a series you'd be interested in. And if you are, we also have Farewell My Lunch Bag, which is also another one in the Chet Gecko mystery series. And how about the 39 Clues? And this particular one is called In Too Deep. And I believe, if I remember correctly, there's 12 in that series. And we have 2 or 3 of those in the store right now. And again, we get in different ones at different times. So remember, every time you come in, you get 5 free kids books per family. And so mysteries might be something you choose. We also have some Nancy Drew mysteries, and they have been redone, meaning different covers on them, and kind of updated the stories a little bit. But this particular one is called Race Against Time. Or maybe you'd like a Magic Shop, The Vanishing Coin, and it gives you magic tricks with instructions inside. If you're into magic as well as mystery. We also have the Boxcar Children. This one's the Shackleton Sabotage. And again, Boxcar Children have been updated, new covers, and updated the stories to some extent. And this is one of the newer ones that came in. And this is about a family that's traveling to Australia and Antarctica, but they're having some problems, which happens in mysteries, and you have to try to figure out how to solve those problems. We also have some Scooby-Doo mysteries. If you watch him on TV, it's the case of the terrifying pterodactyl. So it throws some dinosaurs in, as well as the clues that you need to look at in order to solve this mystery. This is that older version of the Boxcar Children I was talking about, and this one's called The Deserted Library Mystery. And this is about 4 kids who used to live alone in a boxcar, and now they are with their grandfather, and they have a problem with an old library that's going to be torn down, and they want to save that building with all the books in it, and in that process they find several mysteries in the library. This one's called The Case of the April Fool's Frog, and so it takes place around April Fool's Day, which is April 1st, and it's kind of that same version of the calendar mysteries. So they have a mystery series for January, February, March, April, so on and so forth. And this is called The Mystery on Alaska's Iditarod Trail. So if you like adventure as well as cold Alaska and lots of snow, you're going to enjoy this one. And then we also have quite a few Goosebumps in the store. And so those, if you like something a little spooky, a little eerie, besides being mysterious and scary, you might want to try one of those. So again, a lot of these are for older readers, which is kind of what we're going to talk about in these next few times. So keep reading, 20 minutes a day or more. And if you're reading to your little brothers or sisters, that counts. If mom or dad is reading to you, that counts. And whatever time you can read on your own is just absolutely positively a bonus. So keep reading, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.